Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're on the penultimate episode of this week's theme, which is Melodeath. We're going to be exploring another band that hopefully fits somewhere around this genre. I know we've had a couple of tracks so far that people have said is melodic death metal, but not necessarily melodeath. But I've also seen some stuff on the other side of the aisle that says it's all the same. There's not that much of a difference between melodeath and melodic death. So it's really interesting to see these two sides of the argument popping up here. As for me, I've heard some differences between some of the bands we've listened to thus far, and I'm kind of getting a sense for whatever we've been listening to. I don't really have a name for it because I don't really know what to call it yet, but at the same time, who needs genres? They're good for starting points, they're good for developing conversations, but it doesn't really do anything to aid the music itself. So I don't think I'm going to worry about it as much this week. And we're just going to listen to some death metal with melodic elements, whether it's melodeath or not. All right, today's is In Mourning. The song is Amnesia. Let's get into it. Ooh. Yeah, I love how beat 4 in the second bar of the pattern is just empty. It just has that nice reverb to it. Some really nice layered harshes there. Ooh. Yeah. I'm really digging the groove here and that higher end sort of atmospheric work. Really strong rhythmic synergy at this point. Yeah, lots of drive, lots of energy going on. Almost has an early metal sound to it in some sections. Yeah, I really like how they take the opening idea of leaving that fourth beat fairly empty, while also putting this higher melody line above all of it. Nice little bass slide. Ooh. Yeah, I got some guitar harmonies. Oh, and the right side diverges a little bit at the end. I love that. Really digging into the textural atmosphere work here. Oh, it's over. All right. It, yeah, it is over. All right. Yeah, really cool stuff there. As usual, the vocals are a little difficult for me, but I think I am acclimating to some of this stuff. But there is some really cool ideas happening in the music that we're gonna have to dive into. So the entire song is predicated on this rhythmic idea of a 2 bar phrase in 4/4, where the eighth beat, which would be beat 4 in the second bar, is mostly empty. There's reverberation. I think the vocals sang over that gap where the instruments cut out and the vocals kept singing. They did that once. Um, but the entire song's be predicated on this idea, and it even gets expanded a bit in the middle somewhere where I believe every fourth beat, rather than the end of the 2 bar phrase, has this one beat gap in it. Um, and it causes the song to have all this energy and drive, and to give just that moment of contrast, that moment of emptiness, so that the explosiveness, the aggression, the heaviness of the other parts of the song really drive home, and you get this little back and forth idea going on there. So I think that's really cool. I think it gets a little overdone by the end of the song, but it's only 3.5 minutes, so it's not that it gets used so much that it becomes bad or tiresome. It's just that it becomes sort of the shtick of the song, for better or worse. I think some people are going to be more sensitive to that repetition. Some people are just going to go with it. Some people are going to love it so much that they're glad the whole song does it. It's just one of those gambles you take when you utilize a specific idea for the entirety of a song, and you don't allow any sort of contrasting ideas or variation, or any sort of evolution from that one concept. Some people are going to love it, some people are going to get tired of it. But, I got to give them props for doing that too. I could not. I value very much movement and direction and change in my composition. I would be very anxious releasing a song that was one idea for 3.5 minutes. That's just not something I'm very comfortable writing, because I myself would get bored of it. But I think they did a decent job here, changing it up every once in a while. Like I said, sometimes notes would be played over it. I think the vocals went over it once, and then they do put a little variation on it in the middle, where it's not the end of the 2 bar phrase, it's every bar. So it is changed up a little bit, even if they retain that idea of having the gap at the end of a bar, or at the end of a phrase. Um, but a lot of that energy that they create by having that pocket of space to contrast all the other thing they're doing, they're working really hard at providing a lot of direction and momentum through the other instruments rhythmically. The entire song is driving. You got that da 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 da, and it's just constantly pushing forward, moving to the next section. The song does not really slow down. It doesn't really take its time. It is just raw energy in sonic form. And like I said, a lot of that is in the rhythmic sections, but the chorus, I believe, synergizes the rhythmic elements in almost all the instruments. The drums, the guitars, the vocals, they're all laying down on the same rhythmic idea, which amplifies that direction. It amplifies the drive, it amplifies the momentum. So it makes the song feel very energetic. And it is. I mean, I could not stop myself from moving to it. The song just exudes energy, and I could not help but absorb it and utilize it. And a lot of that comes from the rhythmic elements. There's a lot of really cool textural rhythmic things going on in here, and those rhythmic things drive themselves into groove, which I think is the strongest element in this song. Is that there are very few sections that do not have strong groove to them. There's just this constant drum and bass work. I guess the guitar too, because the bass was sort of hidden within the guitar. I think the guitar and bass were doing fairly similar things, at least the rhythm guitar. Basically, the guitar that's not doing the melodic stuff up in the higher end. But yeah, there's just a lot of rhythmic elements going on in the drum, bass, and rhythm guitar, and even at times the vocals, as they are a mostly rhythmic voice in this song, really creating a strong sense of groove within that energetic direction and drive. And it creates a song that is just very easy to fall into and jam with, even though they are utilizing some semi complex rhythmic elements. I think verse, the verse has a more complex rhythmic element than the chorus. The chorus switches to straight eighths, but there's sort of like I guess the best word to describe it in a metal scene would be semi gent. It's not overly genty. It still contains itself to just a two bar phrase. There's very clean downbeat of one, very clear delineation of when the new phrase starts, when the phrase ends, where the loop is. It doesn't hit any of that strangeness that's gent tends to fall into, where you have these very long phrases. It's really hard to find a downbeat. But this one finds groove with simple, short patterns. So it's really easy to just get into the song, start headbanging, and jam with it to really absorb that energy and allow it to move you. And that groove, I think, is very important because the song is fairly chaotic with its up tempo and drive and direction, lots of momentum and speed and energy. It's very easy for the song to become fatiguing. And the groove really helps there be a laid back element that you can jam with, mentally, physically, however you want to groove with the song. I think that's its purpose there, is to provide that laid back, simpler element that aids the listener and gives them that moment of sort of rest within all the chaos and speed going on around it. Speaking of speed, the song does not take any time to really do anything other than get to the end. It follows a pretty typical verse, chorus, breakdown chorus idea. The sections are rather short. There is no extended instrumental section in the middle to provide any levity to what's going on. We don't bring it down a notch. We don't enter into sort of a more solemn middle point before exploding in the ending and bringing back that energy. It is just 11 all the time, start to finish, always moving to that next part. And, there's nothing wrong with writing like that. That ABABCB pattern is a staple for a reason. It may be cookie cutter or just very standard, generic these days, but there's a reason it's the standard. It is a very solid way to write a song. Um, but the thing is that songs like these that are simple and driving and just to the point, they're great for when you just want to turn your mind off. Maybe you've had a long day at work or something and you're just ready to calm down and you need some music to, just to fill your brain. You're tired of thinking, maybe you got a desk job or something and you just want to jam out to something aggressive. This is that kind of music. It's not supposed to be overly, theoretical with music, or it's not supposed to make you think. I don't know what the lyrics are. Maybe the lyrics have depth in them. I don't know. But on a musical level, it's not really their design to make you think. It's they're designed to really just get into it, get into that energy, get into that feeling, and quickly get in and quickly get out. No, not much of a huge commitment, and there is a lot of good that type of music can do. So I want to make that point sometimes when I talk about songs that have standard song composition or simple elements or shorter or don't utilize contrasting elements or any of the more advanced or theoretical concepts, that they're not bad songs. It's not bad because it's simple. It's not bad because it's predictable or generic or anything like that. Um, there's definitely a place for all sorts of music. So when I say that this uses a standard song composition, I'm not using that as a negative, just stating a fact. The lyrics, well, not the lyrics, the vocals. I did not think. I feel like I'm talking faster than usual. I just looked at the timer, and this is only a 15-minute video so far, and I feel like I've talked about so much, but I feel like the song just gave me so much energy, and I'm just rattling through. My brain's on like rapid fire right now. It's the strangest thing. I think I'm starting to sweat too. I don't know. Music has the weirdest effects, unintentional, unknowable effects on people, and it's really cool the mental and emotional impact, and even the physical impact that music can have on people. It really is a magical thing that we have somehow stumbled upon and created as humans on this planet. Anyways, let's get back to this. The vocals. So I was taken aback a little bit at the beginning when the vocals came in, and they were layered right off the bat. I believe we had a growl and some sort of distorted clean or fry, something in the higher range of overtones. And the way that they work together is very interesting to me because I am more used to fry screams than I am to growls. I grew up with sort of the metallic hardcore, the what a metalcore, and uh the post-hardcore stuff that came towards the end when we started to see more melody introduced to the bands and the genre became more popular, and it kind of merged with some of the more mainstream elements in writing. I'm used to that higher pitched fry scream though. That's the kind of music I listened to as a teenager and early 20s when I listened to rock and metal stuff. So I'm very acclimated to that, but growls I'm not as much. And this song did something really cool where they layered them together, but the fries had a bit of a pitch to them, some sort of perceived pitch. I don't know if it was because it was a distorted clean and they were actually targeting notes, or if it was just the overtones that came from the fry. But the cool thing is that it gave the vocals a sort of melodic element. It wasn't pure melody, but there was a perceived element of notes rising and falling. But we had that layered in with that really gritty uh, tone of the growls, getting that depth, getting the crackle, and all the textural elements that come with that. And the fact that I believe the entire song was done in this layering element made the vocals very unique, at least to me. I don't know if this was the first band to do it. I'm sure it probably wasn't. They might not be. They're probably not even the only band who does this. But I think it is a unique element for me because, as with all the other types of bridging that I've spoken about in the past, of finding bands or songs that are going to help people acclimate to harsher elements in music, this is one that really works for me because it pairs something that I enjoy in the vocal delivery style with a vocal delivery style I'm not too keen on. And I find some of the elements in growling that I think people really like. They're adding really cool texture things to the vocals I already enjoy. And I'm starting to appreciate those textural things in the growls more because I'm hearing them with something that I already enjoy, and I'm kind of pairing that rather than just getting those textural elements with that low end growl. So that's really cool. I would not mind hearing more of that. And I think that pretty much wraps this one up. Um, I think I touched on. Oh, I did not touch on the melodic. It's Melodeath week, and I didn't even touch on the melodic aspects. There is a clear divide between the textural rhythmic work on the bottom and the higher end melodic work. But the thing is, unlike when we checked out Dark Tranquility, was it that I said that there's also a clear divide there? This one really brings the death elements to the forefront in the mix, in the composition, in the attention. A lot of the song is devoted to that rhythmic element. The melodic stuff that's happening in the higher end with the guitar is one quieter than everything else, which is very different than the Dark Tranquility song we checked out. But also secondary, it tends to be, I don't know if it's a mix thing or if it's a tone thing, but the sounds are a bit muddier on it. And what I mean by that is many of the notes, it's very difficult to hear a clear start and stop. There's just not a lot of clarity in attack, I would say. And it's very possible, it's intentional. I kind of figure most of these songs are they're not recorded with imperfections in them, especially something. I mean, this was 2008, assuming this is correct. So maybe it wasn't as intentional as it perceives. But I tend to view all published music as being delivered as intended, at least until a remaster comes out. If a remaster comes out from the band, I tend to see that as, we had problems and we're fixing them. But otherwise, I believe that a song is released as the band wants it to be. Just for the sake of the artists. I would not release something I was not happy with, and I don't believe anybody else would either. So with that said, I'm trying to look at it from the angle that the style is intentional. And with that said, it provides an interesting contrast to what's going on, because the rhythmic section is very clean, very deliberate. The rhythmic hits and the syncopation going on in there is extremely deliberate, extremely clear, and it leads to that strong sense of groove because there's clarity in the rhythmic aspects. So to say that the melodic stuff might be, in a sense, the opposite of the rhythmic foundational work, we can also see that as an opposite here as well, where we have a clear breakpoint between notes. In the rhythmic section, when we go up there, the opposite would be more of a legato feel, less clear hits on the attacks. And so we get these interesting lines. I think they were doing eighth notes, but I can't remember if they were straight eighths or triplet eighths. For some reason, I'm kind of remembering a triplet feel in the verse, but I could just be misremembering that. Anyways, though, we have these moving runs. Basically, they're going up and down notes and creating this sort of constantly flowing higher end sound, higher pitch sound. And the cool thing about it is that, like I said, you don't really feel any of the attacks. If you listen real close, they're there. And being that I think it's a guitar that's picked, I wonder if there's something in the tone or something done in the engineering to reduce the emphasis of the attacks for some reason. But what it ends up feeling like is more of a synth line, where the notes are just kind of blending into each other and metamorphosizing between the notes rather than having clear distinctions going up and down these notes. And I think that's really cool because it provides this sort of constantly changing element to the song that seems to be very simple and not changing, especially since that rhythmic element that we spoke about earlier with that fourth beat being empty, being in every aspect of the song. It's really cool that we have this element in the melody that feels more like constant change, constant micro changes. So it's a really cool piece of contrasting work there. How all of this ties into the idea of amnesia, which is what the song's called, that one goes over my head, but maybe it has something to do with the lyrics, and maybe this is one of those songs where the lyrical themes don't necessarily line up with the musical themes, which happens. It's fine. Anyways, those are my thoughts on In Mourning's Amnesia. This is where you guys come in, though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not. Further your debates on whether this is mellow death or just melodic death metal. I love reading about it because it intrigues me, because on a semantic level, I don't see how melodic death metal is different than death metal with melodic elements. Just looking at the words, they mean the same thing to me. But I understand that, genre histories and the evolution of language means that words can have multiple meanings and that they don't necessarily mean exactly what they say, like figuratively and literally. Anyways, I read all the comments. I check out all the conversations that are going on. I comment back if I feel I have anything to contribute, but especially with something like this conversation about what is melodeath, I'm the one learning here. So mostly I'm reading and absorbing all this information that's being thrown at me this week. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box. There's a link in there for Linktree, which is a nifty place that has everything related to the channel in one little menu. Discord, Twitter, Patreon, special selections, all of it. It's all there. Email, whatever you want to do. If it's critical reactions related, it's there. Above the description box, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. All three things help out the channel immensely. I'll be back tomorrow with the final episode of Melodeath Week, and until next time, remember to be critical, but never cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.